city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come along and welcome aboard the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington on this Monday, October 14th. Golly, almost halfway through October. Crazy. Jim Coyle with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Man, oh man. Chilly weather. Chilly sounds good right now. Great weekend. Hope you had a good one. Lots going on. Indiana, of course. Football game against Rutgers, homecoming. Big win, 35-0. Easily covered the spread. Actually, they should have had the spread covered in the first quarter. And I'm not kidding about that. I even sent out a post, a text, Twitter. Hey, I think they're going to cover in the first quarter. They should have. They were up 21-0. And then they went into this lull. Things didn't go so well in the second quarter. But the thing that really bothered me about the second quarter is they didn't score at the end. When they were down inside the 5 or wherever they were, it was not managed very well. And I think that even though this was against Rutgers and it wasn't needed, you gotta be dead on that stuff because it's going to come up. It's going to come up in a game against Michigan that goes to overtime or whatever. You got to be able to get that ball. They didn't score at all. They didn't get a field goal. They got nothing. They go for it on fourth down and come up with empty-handed. It's hard to complain, but if you want to continue to improve and continue to get better, because this schedule is going to get tougher. But, man, overall, what a great performance by Indiana across the board. You know, if you look at the statistics, even with that lull in the second quarter, Michael Penix still goes 20 of 29. He had a quarterback rating of 178. His percentage this year is crazy. We talked about Peyton Ramsey last year. Of course, they throw so many short passes, but Michael Penix is doing it with going down the field a little bit more often. But I think it's because of having more zip on the ball and it's getting there faster. These plays are working. How about the defense? They held Rutgers to a total of 75 yards for the game. Total, 75 yards. 1 passing yard. That is nuts. 74 yards on the ground. Indiana, meanwhile, 557 yards of offense. 297 through the air. 282 was from Michael Penix. Peyton Ramsey came in relief. He was 4 of 6 for 15 yards. Indiana had 260 rushing yards. That was a big upgrade in the running game. Stevie Scott, on just 12 attempts, 164 yards rushing. He broke 1 of 57 yards. That's an average of 13.7 yards per carry. That is what you need out of him, out of that running game. You had 3 different rushers that averaged over 5 yards a carry. David Ellis, 7 attempts, 35 yards, 5 yards a carry. Samson James, 7 attempts, 36 yards, 5.1 yards per carry. Peyton Ramsey only had 2 carries, but he averaged 5.5 yards a carry. So if you want to get technical, you had 4. You have that kind of performance, you're going to be winning ball games. And the competition is going to step up a little bit. Indiana travels to Maryland this week on the road. This is the Maryland team that the last time they went to Maryland, I thought Indiana should have won that game. They were the better team, but they didn't. This time, similar but not. I think Indiana is a much better team. And Maryland is kind of falling on the snide a little bit. They started the season very well with 2 big wins. And then they've just been mopped. They got destroyed by a Purdue team over the weekend that is kind of decimated with injuries. They don't have their starting quarterback, and yet Purdue put like 40 on Maryland. Tim texted in that Indiana is a 5-point favorite against Maryland on the road. That says a lot. That says Las Vegas is starting to have a little bit more confidence in Indiana. I mean, I think Indiana's a better team than that. But 5 points, that's a touchdown swing either way. I think Indiana, as long as they handle business, will be just fine. Maryland was out their quarterback over the weekend, though. That'll make a difference, and he's a runner. That's the one thing that concerns me about this defense of Indiana's, is the ability to handle a quarterback that will drop back and run the ball. I'm afraid with this young defensive line that they may over-aggress themselves. But we'll see. Again, overall, I think Indiana is just a better team. And not only should they win that game, they, of course, need to win that game. Excuse me. Indiana could be bowl eligible before we get out of October. That, my friend, would be crazy. Right now, they stand at 4-2 on the season. They got consecutive road games coming up, which will be a test, and a sterner test follows the Maryland game as Indiana will head to Nebraska after that. But again, if Indiana wins this game against Maryland and they cover the spread, this is not a gambling thing. It's just a perception of how teams look. If Indiana goes to Maryland, covers the spread, wins that game, when they go to Nebraska, I honestly think Indiana will be a favorite there, which who in the world would have thought that before the season? Mainly because Nebraska is not kind of panning out to be what we thought that they were going to be. We'll see how that works out. The only bad thing is Nebraska has a bye. I think Joker pointed that out with the text. Nebraska has a bye this week. So they get 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana. Now, does that make a difference? Yeah, a lot of times it does, especially with a team like Indiana whose offense is pretty specific right now. Of course, it's specific and using a lot of different people. But 2 weeks is 2 weeks. And that's a lot of time to prepare for somebody, especially when you got them coming in at home. But we'll see how that works out. We've got a game at Maryland coming up next. Indiana had some recruits in over the weekend. Good time, good performance for Indiana. Bill texted in, the Nebraska game just got a little harder than I thought it would be. That's right, they have a bye this week, gives them 2 weeks to prepare. That was the text or the tweet that I was talking about. Feel free to hit us up on the text line, by the way, 812-269-6367. I haven't even said who's on the show today. Of course, it's Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, joining us here today. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosiers is going to be along as well. We've got lots of sound to get to from Indiana football. The game over the weekend, we'll hear from Coach Allen, from Mike Penix, all the guys. Whop Phillier, what a game Whop had. Hello, Whop. Man, oh, man, he's having a season. He set an Indiana record with back-to-back double-digit reception games. Had never happened at Indiana and I think that is the 4th this season for him already, which also is a record. 10 catches, 182 yards. His longest was 56. Should have had another touchdown. Penix missed him on a wide open. He did make the catch, one that had to be reviewed, but that would have been a touchdown if Penix had seen him. He was wide open. He didn't have a TD on the day, but he did have an 18.2-yard average per catch. That's pretty daggone good. You had Nick Westbrook. All 5 targets he caught. Nice, tidy 50 yards, 10-yard per catch average there. But good performance by Indiana over the weekend. They've got a lot more coming up. We've got a lot more coming up. We'll talk a little bit about basketball with Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Get some recruiting news going there. And we'll hear from the participants of this week's past game. We got a lot coming up here on Indiana Sports Radio. Stay tuned. We're back with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on a chilly Bloomington day. Welcoming in, though, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Jim. How are you?
Good, good. Just looking at this fall weather coming in, man. A little chilly. That weather, fall weather is definitely here.
Yeah, there's no question about that. But absolutely, as the day wears on, it gets beautiful out there. It's about as good as it gets from a weather perspective. Sun shines and temperatures in the 60s. That's my kind of weather.
I hear you, man. And that's definitely football weather, and Indiana's certainly got it going right now, coming off of a great win over the weekend. I know it was Rutgers, but just a performance that you really wanted to see all the way around, both offensively and defensively from this team.
Well, I think this team has done exactly what has been expected of them this year in some respects, and to beat the teams you're supposed to beat and to do it in such a way with a couple of shutouts, Connecticut being one, of course, and Rutgers the other on Saturday. Those are the kind of performances that you are pleased with. You're not ever satisfied if you're a coach. I know that, but at the same time, there were real positives that came out of this ball game, not the least of which was the improvement in the defensive play and limiting a team to 1 yard passing, doing a good job of keeping the run under control. I really liked what I saw from the defense on Saturday and how they swarmed to the football, as well as the first 10 seconds of the game when they swarmed to it, forced a fumble, and scored a touchdown by Raekwon Jones on that fumble recovery. So the way the game started and the way Indiana dominated from the very outset, I think gives you an idea that this team's mindset right now is pretty positive.
Absolutely, and getting another spectacular performance offensively, not just from Michael Penix, but the entire offense. The line did a good job. The receivers, Whop Phillier, what a year he's having, man. He's just having a breakout season. Not that we didn't are surprised, but he's the new Luke Timian, I guess.
Well, no, he's beyond Luke Timian because if they had a foot race, he'd beat him by 10 yards. Whop was one of the fastest guys, without doubt, on this football team. Maybe he is the fastest guy on the football team. And you saw signs of that last year in the first 7 ball games before he got hurt, that he was going to be a playmaker and a guy that could change the game a little bit. And without question, he has shown that this season. For the second straight game, he has double-figure receptions. On Saturday, 10 for 182 yards with a long of 56. He can make things happen once he catches the football, and that's a great, great sign for this receiving group because I've been a little disappointed in some of the receiving earlier in the year with drops and things like that, but it seems like all of these guys now have got their heads on properly and know what they're doing out there. And Watt just epitomizes that at this point in the season. I didn't think Michael Penix threw the ball exceptionally well in this game, and yet he was 20 of 29 passing. He did have an interception. He threw for 282 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought he played well, but I didn't think he was great in this contest, not as good as he was against Michigan State. That's not to disparage him in any way, shape, or form. He's still a freshman. He's going to make some mistakes every now and then, but at the same time, you hope you see progress each and every week. And I was really, really pleased with the run game coming around. I think the offensive line has started to play better. There's still a little bit of question mark there. Hunter Littlejohn gets hurt in this ball game, goes out in the first half. There's no doubt that they can't really afford many injuries there. The good news on Littlejohn, at least at this point, is I don't think that was a season-ending injury that he suffered. He obviously came back out at halftime in uniform and tried to go through some drills at the very end there. I don't think they ever were going to put him back in the ball game, but at least they wanted to see if he could move, and he did. Now, he wasn't spry, to say the least, but he was out there, and I like that, so it doesn't look like that was an injury that is going to be sustained for any length of time, and that's the good news there. But this football team played well Saturday, and we said at the beginning last week, or at the beginning of last week, that this is going to be a crucial 4-game stretch for this Indiana football team. And all 4 of these games are winnable. They're games that Indiana is expected to compete in and have a chance to win. And they started that this past Saturday with a 35-0 shutout of Rutgers. And now they've got to go to Maryland this coming Saturday and take care of business there to a Maryland team that is really up in the air on what they can possibly do on a game-in, game-out basis because their 3 victories have been blowouts. Their 3 losses, 2 of them have been blowout losses. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to see out of Maryland this coming week.
Yeah, it's so weird to I know exactly what you mean by Michael Penix. He looked pretty good. Had a little spot there for a little bit. He didn't look so good, but the fact that he was 20 of 29, and we can see that it's amazing how good this team can be. There was a lull in that second quarter, and afterwards the guys said that they weren't executing the small things, which I kind of don't understand how you can get to that. I know they may have gotten a big head with the 21-0 lead, but not really understandable. But they came back after that, which was how they responded after the halftime, I think, was a good sign.
Well, no doubt, and I'm not so sure that Indiana wasn't trying to do a little something different with their game plan, or maybe we're experimenting with some kind of situations out there as well. I haven't had a chance to talk to Kalen DeBoer after the ball game to see what his thoughts were on that area, and Buck kind of alluded to the fact that when they were having such early success that they were throwing those little sideline shots and going wide, and then they started going straight down the field, and when they started going straight down the field, that kind of took away some of what they were doing and some of their momentum. So we'll just have to find out what the coach thinks in that regard in our press conference today. But at the same time, I do like what I've seen from this football team. They're making progress. They've been able to fight past a couple of critical injuries in the offensive line to this point. Hopefully they get Hunter Littlejohn back either, if not this week, certainly next week, because they're going to need him. And like I said, I think this game coming up with Maryland, another critical one in this 4-game stretch here, that Indiana could, if Indiana does what they are capable of doing, they could be bowl eligible before the end of October, which has not happened. I can't remember the last time it happened in Indiana.
1993, Don. That's how long it has been. A great season under Bill Mallory.
I'm glad you looked it up because I haven't seen that for a long, long time.
Right, I did look it up because I was curious about this next stretch of 4 Big Ten games, which they've already played the one with Rutgers, because as you just said, and I agree, that they're all winnable games. And I looked up to see when was the last time Indiana won 4 consecutive Big Ten games, and it was in '93. So that was a good season for the Hoosiers, and they seem to be on par with doing something that well again. And I agree. We talked about this last week. I think these are all 4 winnable games, especially now this past weekend. They got the running game going. They had 3 rushers that rushed for 7 or more times that averaged 4 yards a carry, including Stevie Scott, of course, who averaged 13 yards a carry, 164 yards on 12 attempts. Pretty good breakout day for him this season.
Yeah, no question. To get him going is, I think, pivotal for this football team. To keep him going is going to be crucial. And I think Samson James came in. I know he fumbled the first time he had the football in his hands on Saturday. I'm not so sure that fumble didn't get him going or get him really fired up to play better. We've seen him very limited amount of time this year. I just thought we were going to see him a lot more at the beginning of the season. But when they came to crunch time and they used him and down at the goal line to punch it in there, he did exactly what I thought he could do. And he carried 7 times for 36 yards in the game. That's a 5.1 average. I really like this kid. I think he's going to be a terrific running back for Indiana. And I think maybe the fumble on Saturday on his first play that he was in the ball game on maybe got him a little embarrassed and said, I've got to start playing like I know I'm capable of playing. I'm not quite sure what the mindset would be there. All I know is he was a different football player the rest of that ball game.
Yeah, he's had a couple times where he almost broke in some long runs, even in the Michigan State game and the game against Rutgers as well. They're so close, just getting tripped up. Another thing that has really surprised me this year is the efficiency of Michael Penix. His completion percentage, last year we saw Peyton Ramsey with a very high completion percentage, and we were like, wow, Michael Penix is almost surpassing that this season, and that's blowing my mind.
Well, there's no question this kid's got a terrific arm, but I think as much as anything, his success, as much as he's having success personally, I think it's got a lot to do with the offensive coordinator, Kalen DeBoer. I think Kalen DeBoer has designed this offense for his strengths and for his abilities, and part of that is due to the fact that they've got to put Penix in a position to be successful. And against the teams that they haven't had a lot of time to throw it, they've run that quick passing game, which obviously you're not going to throw it downfield a lot in those situations until they loosen up. But when they do loosen up, then those downfield passes are available, and Penix can get the ball there. And, of course, when Peyton Ramsey's been in there, he's continued that quick passing attack because it's tough for that offensive line to hold up for long periods of time. So I give Kalen DeBoer a lot of credit for what this team's been able to do offensively at this point in the season.
Absolutely, and now Indiana goes off on the road again, heading over to Maryland, rather. A team that in the beginning of the year, I thought they looked really strong. I thought it was going to be a team Indiana was going to be concerned about, and not that they're not concerned about them. Maryland's season has kind of gone off the rails a little bit.
Well, it has. It's really hard to understand what's happened to them because they have tremendous skill position speed, and there's no question they didn't have their starting quarterback last week. Josh Jackson got hurt, did not play against Purdue on Saturday. Tyrell Pigram, who lit up Indiana last year, if you remember at times, came in and ran the football very effectively. He's a much better runner than he is a passer, but he was the starting quarterback and quarterbacked the team on Saturday against Purdue. It just wasn't good enough, and Purdue absolutely did a job of taking care of business against the Terrapins. I was amazed at how well they played defensively, and at the same time, the defense from Maryland got shredded by a Purdue offense that had been struggling because of the injuries to Rondale Moore and to Elijah Sindelar. And yet those guys looked terrific on Saturday from an offensive standpoint. Maryland has played 3 games in which they've won. 2 of them were complete blowout, or actually all 3 of them were complete blowouts, 79-0 over Howard, 63-20 over Syracuse. That was their first 2 games of the year. And then, of course, they beat Rutgers last week, 48-7. The 3 losses, however, Temple by just 3 points, but then to Penn State 59-0, and Purdue absolutely wiped the floor with them last week, 40-14, considering the struggles that Purdue's having. So I'm not quite sure what we anticipate to see, but again, the game is at Maryland. That's always the home crowd being a factor, and obviously if Jonah Jackson's back, they could be a different football team at the quarterback position. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. There's no question about that, but still, like we said earlier, a very winnable game for Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time Indiana went to Maryland, it was kind of a similar situation, and I thought it was a game that Indiana should have won. Maryland played very well that day, and Indiana didn't handle it and came out of there with a loss. This is a different situation, a little bit of a different team, obviously. And this team has shown, Don, that they can play on the road. That's another thing that has really, really been amazing to me, is when they were at East Lansing, they had no fear whatsoever on either side of the ball. They were there to play for certain.
Well, you want them to have confidence going into every ball game, no matter where it's played. And I think this team, to this point, has been able to show that. That's a plus. That's a positive. They've got to finish ball games, especially on the road. That's where you're tested to do that. And hopefully, in this matchup with Maryland on Saturday, they can do some of the things that we haven't seen them do from a positive standpoint thus far this season. I'm concerned about the game because I do fear Maryland's speed. I think that if Jackson is back at quarterback, and even if he's not, the Pigram kid can fly too. He was their leading rusher on Saturday against Purdue, if you can believe that, with over 100 yards rushing in that ball game. So he can make things tough. That RPO type of game plan that Loxley has put together at Maryland could stand in good stead for them and make things tough on Indiana's defense. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. The good news is, at this point in the season, we are seeing an Indiana team make improvement almost every week. And anytime you're making improvement on a weekly basis, that's exactly what you're looking for. And this football team right now is cooking. And hopefully they can continue to do so through the month of October.
Absolutely. Anything else you need to mention, Don?
Honestly, I talk about basketball, except I didn't get over there this past week because we had a whole bunch of other things that came up, and I couldn't get there. I was wanting to see the injury status of this ball club and see who's out there practicing. I'm going to do that today, so I'll be able to report a little more on basketball next week.
No problem. We got a little bit before the season starts, but we look forward to it. Look forward to the game this weekend as Indiana travels to Maryland, looking for their 5th win of the season, which would get them one game closer to a bowl eligibility. Don, I can't thank you enough. As always, we appreciate you.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
You bet. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. Back with more from the golf course at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Pick it up. Take me back home, man.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington on this Monday, October 14th. Just finished up with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Now, welcome again, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Michael, how are you?
Doing great, Jim. How are you?
Very, very well, my friend. Thank you very much. Another good weekend for Indiana football, soccer as well. Indiana soccer wins this weekend. They're undefeated in Big Ten play. But the bigger picture, of course, men's football. It's the only football, of course. It didn't have to be men's. But, they moved to 4-2 on this season now, and 2 games from bowl eligibility. Mike, they could legitimately be bowl eligible before we get out of October.
Yeah, the games are certainly there that they could win to do that. I mean, most IU fans will be cautious about, getting their hopes up and making their bowl plans right now because we've seen this story before. In fact, I think we were here last year at 4-2 after a win over Rutgers. So it happens, but I think you're right. I mean, the games are there starting with this weekend. I was just, before we got on here, I was just doing some homework on Maryland and came to find out that IU is actually a 2.5-point road favorite against the Terrapins, which doesn't happen very often. I'm sure that they were road favorites at Rutgers last year, but for the most part, Indiana going on the road in the Big Ten, you're not going to find many situations where they were favored to win games. So right off the bat, you got one that you can grab and get a 5th win, which, at that point, then you just need to win 1 out of your final 5 games, which, again, I think the games are there to take.
Yeah, and that point spread has already jumped up to 5 points. It originally started out there, and then it moved up to 5, which is also a good sign for Indiana this weekend. Maryland is the team that I said earlier when Don was on the show, and they're a team that at the beginning of the season I thought was going to be something Indiana had to worry about after those first 2 games. They were having blowout wins. One of those was over a Syracuse team. But then they entered Big Ten play, and it's been miserable for them ever since. They lost their quarterback last week, but at Purdue who has a backup quarterback as well, but they completed 85% of their passes against Maryland. And I'm thinking turning on Michael Penix and Kalen DeBoer loose, and my gosh, that could get ugly.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to what Penix did on the road at Michigan State, completing 20 passes in a row. And then as you said, you watch Plummer for Purdue complete over 80%. I mean, you got to think that's a recipe that IU's going to try to follow there. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I remember thinking back in early September that, wow, Maryland's, they got a new coach. They're impressive. I think Syracuse was ranked in that game. I think they were top 25. And they beat him by like 40. But I was just reading on Inside Maryland Sports that in Maryland's 3 losses, they've been outscored 119-31. And in their wins, they've won 190-27. So it's just been insane, the difference in their games. But somewhat like IU, the wins have been against pretty bad teams, Howard and Rutgers, who we know, obviously. And then that Syracuse win, which is a little bit of an outlier, although I'll admit I don't know what has happened to Syracuse since that game, but I doubt that they're anywhere near the top 25 anymore.
My only fear is this team has a tendency to play down to its opponent, and we saw that in the UConn game. And to me, we started to see that in the second quarter of this game. There was a lull. Now, Don brought up the fact that they may have been working on some other things that they were talking about during the game, that they noticed they went away from all the things that were working and was doing some different things. And maybe that's some things they were working on. But whatever it wasn't working. But the thing that disappointed me was there were 6 consecutive fruitless drives by Indiana, and they ended the half with that weird sequence where they went for it on 4th down, and they got nothing out of that. And that's fine. I don't have a problem going for it, but I don't know about the play call in that situation, number one. And number two, you've got to score in those situations, because not in this game in particular, but in other games, when you're on the road against a team like Nebraska or whatever, that's going to matter. You cannot come up empty like that, and you can't have 6 empty drives.
Yeah, and I think the questions were asked after the game of the players that, was it psychologically, did they just kind of check out a little bit? And I think at least Wap Fillier seemed to acknowledge that happened a little bit. It's human nature, but at the same time, I agree, against a better team, that's going to be a recipe for disaster. I think Indiana can jump out to leads because they've got a highly productive offense behind Penix, but they're going to have to keep it going throughout an entire game to compete in especially on the road in these games. So, I don't want to make too much of it because it was Rutgers, but at the same time, you're right. You have to stay focused for an entire game. All we hear is, you have to finish, you have to, play the 60 minutes, and they really didn't do that against Rutgers. I mean, in a lot of respects, if you look back at 35-0 against a team that's in that much disarray, it really wasn't that impressive, especially when you consider that it was 21-0 7 minutes into the game.
Absolutely. And the thing that bothers me is, you just mentioned they talk about finishing, yet this is the second time there have been I remember asking questions and the answers were, well, we kind of got big-headed, whatever. I'm like, you don't have the ability to get big-headed. They don't have that ability. They're not Ohio State. So that kind of not worries me, but it just shows the immaturity on some of this team. It's still young. It's still a young team. I think they're going to get past that. It wasn't. But if they were working on things like Don Fischer suggested that was a possibility, that explains it a little bit. But I just didn't really like the way that first half ended. Like you said, they jumped out to a 21-0 lead, partly on the defense set the tone, man. First play of the game, boom. You get play like that in a big game, and that's a tone difference maker.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they got that play on the first play from scrimmage on defense, and then the first play on scrimmage from offense was a 56-yard pass to Wap Fillier, followed by the very next play was an offensive touchdown. So, you can understand how, you go into that game a 28-point favorite. You're up big to start. Players are just like you and me. They know what's going on, and they probably just got big-headed, as you said, but it's just not going to work going forward. And you think about going forward, the thing to me that if I've got a concern about this team right now, it's in the trenches on both sides. You saw the starting center, Hunter Littlejohn, go down. I think Coach Allen said after the game that, quote, he's going to be fine, but I don't know if that means he's going to play this week. That would be the second senior starter on the O-line that would be missing. They did fine against Rutgers, but I think, the tests are obviously much more stern along the way here. So that's going to be clearly something to watch here down the stretch. And then on the defensive line, I think they've definitely been improving in that area. DeMarcus Elliott's really stood out, including on that play to start the game against Rutgers. They did obviously lose Juan Harris, which is just a really strange story going all the way back to when he was originally being recruited by Indiana back in 2016. We documented some of that on Sunday, just kind of the history there. It's a really strange history, and all you can do is hope that the guy is okay. But I think on the defensive line standpoint, I think that's where the other questions are with this team right now.
Absolutely. Tim texts in the over and under is 57. So they're expecting both teams to score some points here, because I don't think they're expecting Indiana to put 57 points on the board. To me, that works out about a 38-21 score. So, but that would be about right, probably. But we'll certainly find out. Basketball-wise, any news going on that side? I know we had a visit recently. What's going on the recruiting side of things?
Yeah, the two big things. Obviously, Trey Patterson was in this weekend for a junior year official visit. He's a kid out of New Jersey, attends Rutgers Prep. I talked to his high school coach on Friday, jokingly asked, okay, this guy's from New Jersey. He goes to Rutgers Prep. Did he just want to go see a Rutgers road game this weekend? And he laughed and said, no, this kid's 100% a basketball guy. That's just pure coincidence. And he's really, because he's a basketball guy, I think his mom and dad both played Division I college basketball. He has a deep appreciation for the history of the game, and so Indiana intrigued him. I was told, that the fact that Indiana was his first ever college official visit, people shouldn't necessarily read into that. It doesn't indicate that IU's a favorite there or anything, but by the same token, a player only gets 5 official visits. So the fact that Indiana did get one of those definitely suggests that he's at least serious about IU, which is a good thing. I mean, Patterson is a top 40 wing is probably the best way to describe him. His coach said he's a very versatile kid that can, quote him on this. I've never heard someone say this before, can guard all 5 positions. I guess, at the high school level, that's a little bit more believable, but it at least speaks to his versatility as an athlete and as a player, and the kind of guy that Archie's pursuing. He'll be an interesting one to watch, I think, because watching him on film, he reminds me a lot of Trey Kaufman out of Southern Indiana, similar kind of 6'8", 6'9", versatile wing that can play inside and out. So I wouldn't think that Indiana would ultimately take 2 players of that type, although, that those are the type of players that are the kind of the modern game, if you will. So that one will be interesting to watch for sure. The other kind of news breaking thing going on in recruiting over the weekend was the fact that Christian Lander, the 2021 point guard there in Evansville, is at least considering the idea of reclassifying into the class of 2020. And
that was my next question for you right there, because that would be a big time deal for Indiana, as badly as they need a point guard now. 2 reasons. Number one, it would lock him up, and it would get that point guard that they so desperately need.
Yeah, that's the way we produced the story on Friday, and credit Nick Baumgart at Rivals for teaming up with him on that one. But we produced the story, and that's how we described it as, look, Indiana's been trying hard to get a 2020 point guard for a long time here. But, oh, by the way, their top point guard target on the board is 2021 Christian Lander. So wouldn't it just kind of be perfect if they could bring him into the 2020 class? And then, you think about him in conjunction with the Dawson Garcia, all of a sudden you're talking about a top 5 class in the country if they could pull that off. Obviously, there's a long way to go in both of those recruitments, but I don't think either one of them is unrealistic at this point. So it's at least interesting to think about. I think he's got a long way to go in terms of making sure he's got the right classes and the right resume from an academic standpoint to make it happen. But man, from an Indiana perspective, that it couldn't get much better than that.
Absolutely. How did that come up? That possibility even come up?
What I've heard is just he's been taking official visits here. He took an official visit to IU at Hoosier Hysteria. He took an official visit to Louisville right before that. And I think it just, I don't know if the family brought it up or the schools brought it up, but it's been a topic of conversation here in the last month or so. And I think they're intrigued by it because, people that have watched him, you see a college-ready player. So from the basketball standpoint, it makes sense. He's not going to do like a Race Thompson deal where he comes in redshirts. He's ready to play. And I think the intriguing thing about it from an IU perspective, again, is, people will say, well, Rob Fennessy is going to be, just turning into a junior next year. Is it a good fit? And what I would say to that is, Fennessy and Lander could clearly be on the court at the same time. This isn't, 1990 with Meeks and Reynolds. These are scoring point guards that, play a different style than what we traditionally think of. You can definitely have two primary ball handlers on the floor. I think North Carolina won a national championship recently playing that style. So I don't think that's an issue at all.
But are they in a situation where that's what they need, or do they need a backup point guard? Because you've got a lot of other guys that have been recruited, Armand Franklin and Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, who are all kind of off the ball guys.
Yeah, I think if you were fortunate enough to get Lander and you had Lander and Fennessy, I think more likely than not you're doing a 3-guard type situation where you're having one of those guys you mentioned kind of being the third starter. Don't forget about Al Durham if we're talking about next year either. So, they're going to be guard heavy for sure, but that's a transition from this year where they only have 4 scholarship guards on the roster. So I don't think that they can necessarily underemphasize that position. But, then the segue there is what we've talked about several times here on your show is, okay, we've got enough guards here. We got to focus on the bigs where the major turnover is happening on the roster here in the coming year.
And a 3-guard offense is something Archie has run pretty much his time at Indiana.
Yeah, I think that's he keeps going back to last year and even in comments going into this year. He wants to push the pace. I think some of the stagnation we've seen with this team is just, because he's not able to get out in transition the way he wants to. So I think having 3 guards, 2 of them being point guards would be right up his alley with what he's looking to do.
I think, but pushing the pace is that a result of not having very good shooters?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why you want to push the pace is you want to get out in transition. You want to get your shooters kind of running out on the wings rather than relying on everything in the half court. I think getting half court 3-pointers is a lot harder than getting them in transition. And I think everything, whether it's, getting threes or just getting to the rim in transition or getting putbacks in transition, I think at least with the current roster composition, he feels better about being able to score more efficiently out on the break versus in the half court.
It would be huge for Indiana if you could get Christian Lander in that 2020 class, and if they could add Dawson Garcia, that would be a blockbuster class.
Yeah, I haven't tried to do the math. I think you can do it on 24/7 Sports. You can kind of construct classes, if you will, but I have to believe at that point that's a top 5 class in the country. It's already a good class made up of more of the traditional kind of 3-4 year guys with Geronimo and Leal and Galloway, but Garcia and Lander would be the headliners, both, top 30 type of guys. I think depending on the service, Garcia's a 5-star in some. Lander's a clear 5-star, number 1 point guard in the country, according to most services. So yeah, those guys would tip this class into, something that would, create a lot of buzz, which we've seen recruiting class buzz through the years. So, and wouldn't necessarily make too much of it, but you got to have something to be excited about and look forward to.
Well, and if they could make that, if that could come to fruition, the 21 class coming in after them is loaded. Now, of course, Christian Lander was a big part of that, but there's still a lot of other talent in that class, not just within the state of Indiana, but there is a ton in the state of Indiana in that class.
Yeah, and we talked about Trey Patterson outside and mentioned Trey Kaufman inside. I think Kaufman and Lander, two of the biggest guys in that class. If you got a lander in 2020, I think that would free you up to focus more on bigs in 2021, and that's Kaufman, that's Patterson, it's also Caleb First out of Fort Wayne. Those are all top 50 type of players. And then you got Blake Wesley out of South Bend, who's a really interesting guy. I think you're going to hear more and more about this guy as a junior. He attends the same high school as Demezy Anderson there at Riley. He's 6'6", but he has the handles of a point guard, but can play all the way out to the wing with that kind of length. And I think he's going to be a guy that really kind of burst onto the scene this year. He played on a Riley team that had, I believe, like 7 or 8 seniors last year. So, he started, but was a little bit behind the scenes, if you will. I think he may have averaged 12 to 15, that type of range. But I think now he's the clear leader, clear scorer, clear headliner of that group. And he's coming to Indiana on a junior year official visit in mid-November as well. His dad told me that last week. So I think he's going to be another really interesting one to watch, and I think Indiana's really going to push hard there.
Absolutely. However, these next two classes go are going to greatly affect what Archie's able to do on the court. But if you load that kind of talent that is there, possible to get, that would be a game changer for this program.
Yeah, I mean, these next two classes are, Archie's future. He's going to, make or break his own IU tenure with 2020 and especially 2021. So, what we're writing about and talking about right now is going to ultimately be the story of Archie Miller's career.
What else are you working on right now, Mike? People need to know about.
Just kind of starting to look forward to, as I mentioned, I'm taking a look at what's going on with Maryland, trying to just understand what's going on with Maryland. It's probably the strangest game on the remaining schedule right now. So that's what I was working on as we were talking, and then I'm going to keep dissecting the rest of Big Ten Media Day. I think there's a lot of stories in there in Archie and the players' comments that still need to be told, so I'm still working on those this week as well.
Absolutely. Mike Schumann from Daily Hoosier. Appreciate you as always, brother.
All right, Jim. Have a great week.
You as well. Hey, there's Mike Schumann joining us. Got plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, we're coming to you from the Golf Club Big Eagle Point Studios. We'll be back with, we'll hear from Michael Penix, Wap Hillier, and Raekwon Jones from this past weekend's game. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back more right after this.
It's shining just for you. Loneliness is over.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, October 14th. Thanks a lot for joining us. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Talked to Don Fischer and Mike Schumann already on the day. A lot of news with Christian Lander. As we talked to him last week. We'll have him rebooted here in a little bit, that interview with him. But we didn't know this at the time, but there's talk of them reclassifying and that possibility. I wish I had known about that. I would have asked him. But that is a situation that I think would serve Indiana very, very well. Obviously, they would get that point guard that they've desperately been seeking for the last couple of years, and it would lock him down, lock the best player in the state down. So that would kill a couple birds with one stone. But that would be very big for recruiting, and I think that might help. That might help land Dawson Garcia, and then that would be a blockbuster class for Indiana. It would be a very good class, and then you follow that up with the 2021 class in Indiana, which is pretty loaded. In addition to those outside, like we talked about with Mike Schumann, Trey Patterson, and those guys, or Mike Patterson. So a lot going on there. Also over the weekend, of course, Indiana had a big win over Rutgers as they moved to 4-2 on the season. They've got a stretch of 3 more Big Ten games in a row here that I think before they hit the next bye, very winnable games. Indiana has not won 4 straight Big Ten games since 1993, but I think that is something they can very well do here as they travel on the road to Maryland next week, a team that they're already a 5-point favorite over on the road. That's a rarity for a team other than like a Rutgers, Indiana, to be a road favorite. We'll see how that moves up and down, but got the chance to talk to the architect, Michael Penix, after the game on Saturday. Let's hear what he had to say.
Mike, you and Wop have developed quite the connection over the last 2 games.
Yes, sir.
What has helped that relationship so far?
Well, just trusting in each other. He trusts me, and I trust him to run the right routes. Coach putting us in great situations, offensive line holding up, and just allowing me to get him the ball. It's been real good.
You're connecting on a very high rate. Is that something that you've always done, or is that since you've gotten to Indiana and it's gotten better? Your completion percentage is extraordinarily high.
I feel like that's something I've always done. Just being in the playbook, knowing my reads and being able to execute everything that Coach DeBoer put in. That's what we focus on, and it's the same in practice. We complete a lot. The completion percentage is something that Coach DeBoer always points out to us, and that's something that we really push to make sure that we stay at a high level.
What have you seen from the offensive line now with Quay Cronk and Hunter Littlejohn both injured, but the running game's finally been getting going over the past 2 weeks? What have you kind of seen from them being able to step up after the injuries?
Right. That just shows that the younger offensive line, that they're ready. They've been in the playbook, so they know what's going on, and they're all our offensive line is real good, and they showed that today. A lot of people, a lot of offensive linemen, they actually came in, and some of them, they was probably nervous a little bit, but once they got a feel for it, they did their job and pushed and made sure that we stay protected.
That was quarterback Michael Penix talking about the win over Indiana, talking about getting the ball to Whop Fillier. Man, that they have a great day together. Whop Fillier, 10 catches, 182 yards. What a spectacular day he had, adding to that youth movement of Michael Penix and company. But, man, they're looking pretty good together. They are really connecting. Talk to Whop afterwards as well.
What does it mean to you to go double-digit receptions back-to-back games? And it's something that no Indiana receivers ever done before in the history of this program?
I mean, it's good, but if our offensive line wasn't blocking the way they were, it wouldn't have happened. So I give kudos to those guys. But it's something good, I guess.
You and Michael have a pretty good connection this season. A lot of completions between you two already. What's the connection between you guys?
I don't know. We just play the game a lot together. We play Fortnite and 2K together, and we talk about what we should do. We watch film while we're playing the game. We just talk about little things we can do, to get the team out, get us going.
How does that transfer to the field?
I don't know. It's just we trust each other basically. We trust each other on the game, so we trust each other on the field.
Telling me the secret to the offensive improvement this season has been to play Fortnite while you watch film.
Don't quote me on that. But yeah.
How have you seen Mike grow? I mean, obviously you worked with him last year. He's been enrolled for almost 2 years now, but especially since he's been named the starter and maybe really stepped into that role from a confidence perspective.
Yeah, Mike's grown a lot. When he first got here, he was doing stuff that we did. He wasn't the first person outside, but now he's the first person outside. He's getting in the middle to talk to us. He's a bigger leader now. He's helping the receivers out, checks and things like that. So Mike, he's grown a lot. He's a complete quarterback now. He's grown.
You talk about that catch you had to come back for.
Which one?
The one where you had to talk to refs and saying it was a catch.
Just had to make a play for my guy. I just made a play for Mike. I told him I'd make plays for him. So just give me the ball, I'll make plays for you.
It looked like one play you were kind of shaking up afterward, you went to the sideline. Did you go back to the locker room at all? And then you came back in and caught a pass for 56 yards. So
it was just a little scary, Football, you don't get a lot of scares and things like that, but I'm good now. So, as you can see, I'm good now.
You guys are sitting there at 4-2 midpoint.
That was Whop Fillier having a spectacular season. Not just a game. He's had a great man, and the connection between Penix and Whop pretty well. You heard me and Don Fischer talk about it earlier, and I equated him to Luke Timian, but Don says he's way beyond Luke Timian. He's so much faster. There was a ball that Mike missed. Man, he had Whop wide open and threw it short a little bit, but he made the catch. But that would have been a touchdown had he seen him. But great connection. That's going forward. That's going to be doing Indiana very, very well. Serving them well. On the defensive side of the ball, Indiana, they held Rutgers to 75 yards. We got to speak with one of those defenders, Raekwon Jones, doing a heck of a job. Let's hear what Raekwon had to say.
I know you guys have had a couple of defensive days this year you probably want to improve from, but you've also had some pretty dominant ones too, especially in the last few weeks. Just, do you feel like, especially kind of the young guys in this group defensively, are getting some of the consistency they need?
Yeah, they're definitely starting to get it as the season goes, and we continue to hammer things at practice. They're starting to finally just continue to grow and stuff like that, which what you expect. What's this game 6? So we're halfway through the season, so. You could just expect them to continue to grow and stuff like that, and just learn from their mistakes. And I talk to them every day. We harp on things, we talk about things, and just we talk about where we want to be and what we want to do. And today was just another step forward.
You've been through a lot, I know, over the last year, but, with this week being the 1-year anniversary, was it particularly tough? Were there any memories that were kind of brought back?
Oh, yeah, there was definitely a lot of memories. You got kind of just, flashbacks, people posting, this was our city a year ago and stuff like that. So, yeah, and then, yesterday was my sister's birthday, which was the day after the hurricane. So, it brought us some memories there, too. So, it's just, just looking at it now, we're just thankful to be here, thankful to be able to for them to be in a stable environment now, and just thankful for everything.
Did that make the touchdown maybe a little extra satisfying?
Oh, yeah, I was emotional, after that, especially it being my first career college touchdown, and just thinking back to, a few days ago last year, I have a home back home, and, all my stuff was destroyed. So, it definitely, made me feel a little emotional there. But, I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
How are things going with the family now? What's the latest update on terms of how things are rebuilding?
Yeah, the contractors, they're continuing to work on the house. They're still in their apartment right now. But, everything's good. We can't complain about nothing. Just happy to, like I said, just to be together in a stable environment.
What was the first thing you thought of when you saw that ball?
I got to go get it. I got to go try. I got to score this. I got to go get that ball. And, I'm just glad I was able to before somebody else was there. I know Khalil told me right at the sideline he thought he had it, and I was like, nah, man, I wouldn't let nobody else get to that.
How freaky was it that it happened in the first 10 seconds of the game? That's probably the quickest touchdown anybody's ever going to see.
It was unbelievable. Like, I was just a little shocked. It's not things you expect, at the beginning of the game. And, it was just unbelievable. I'm just glad, it just happened,
Do you remember the last time you scored a touchdown? It sounds like it was in high school.
Yeah, in high school, we call it, it was actually in high school, we call it the Mosley Miracle. It was 8 seconds left in the game, and we threw a Hail Mary, and someone tipped it, and I had caught it and scored. So that was the last touchdown I scored. So
What year were you? So how many years ago would that be?
I was a senior in high school, so that's about 4.5, almost 5 years ago now.
Where's this ranked with that memory?
This might be a little bit ahead of it just because, it's college, first college touchdown, just, emotional day. Just, like I said a few days ago, last year, everything was in shambles back home. And so I put this ahead of that. But Mosley Miracle was also great. A lot of people back home remember that too.
What was the name of that hurricane?
Hurricane Michael.
Go ahead, John.
There's Raekwon Jones, one of the defensive specialists on the day Saturday. Big touchdown. The first play of the game, man, they stick their quarterback, Rutgers quarterback, and he coughs the ball up. Raekwon scoops and scores, 17-yard touchdown for him. But 10 seconds. We were 10 seconds into the game when that happened. It was crazy. And then before you knew it, there were 21 points on the board for Indiana. A great performance for them. Hopefully they can continue that play and carry on this week. We got a lot more coming up here on the program. Up next, we got a reboot of Christian Lander, the interview we did with him last week. Very timely as we talked about the possibility of him reclassifying. I don't talk about that in the interview with him because I didn't know about it then. But we'll talk to him again and we'll get him back on. But here's the reboot from that interview. We got plenty more coming up on the program. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat coming back with more here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios.
On a side street, run out of love. Oh, I was educated.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Cole.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You make my heart take wing and fly. You make a man wanna testify.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington, and joined now by very, very special guests, Keith and Christian Lander. I got both of them on. Both have been on the show before separately, but I haven't had you guys on before. How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Going good.
Christian, what's going on in your life right now? It's school's back in session. You got the fall going. You a football fan? You go out to football games. What's Christian do for fun?
Not too much as of right now. It's just school and basketball. Our football team's not doing too well right now, but I still go to their games a little bit. So that's
Evansville Wrights, Perennial, usually a good program. They usually have a pretty good program, but per Christian, you heard not having the best seasons right now. But so, what do you do conditioning wise before the season starts? Are you kind of on your own, or do you get input from college people, or just from your high school? How you go about conditioning and all that?
That's pretty much all those things put together. Learning stuff from the college visits I go on, school, and then stuff with myself too.
Keith, do you stay in shape just by chasing him around?
Nah, I'm not as much as I had been when he was a little bit younger, but we get ready to start some things up that's gonna do a little bit more about the X's and O's. I leave all that conditioning and running around crazy stuff to the younger guys.
I hear you, man. I hear you. What's it like as a father having to go through this? Because the kid's the one that's being recruited, but not just the kid. The families, the mothers and the fathers get recruited by the coaches as well in these programs, and there's just a lot of input. So there's a lot of homework you got to do when it comes to recruiting, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there is. You just got to know, what's going on with those schools and what's coming up, and you kind of be on the same page as as your child or whatever, and understanding of what's to come and what those schools are asking for of the kids, and what kind of role they're going to be playing. So you got to kind of keep up on it a little bit. But those are questions that we ask when we go on these visits and when we discuss, have sit downs and have conversations over the phone with these coaches and things. We ask those kind of questions. So it's not so much that you got to keep up with, other than just knowing what kind of questions to ask more than anything.
Christian, are you enjoying the recruiting process? Has it gotten to a point where it's not any fun yet, or is it still pretty fun and entertaining time?
Yeah, it's for sure a fun time. It's just pretty much an eye opener, and it's like not believing when I was a little younger that this would happen this fast. So I'm having fun right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you've got 2 years of high school left. That's crazy to think about. But believe me, it does go fast. Ask your dad. I'm sure he's told you 1,000 times. And just like me, you don't believe that stuff, but trust me, it does. But thank goodness you have a couple more years of high school to get to enjoy and have fun. And and maybe write your name in the record books along the way. But the recruiting process is going on. You just got back from Hoosier Hysteria. That's always a fun time for a lot of the fans. What was it like as a recruit going through that?
It was pretty fun, especially since I went on a visit with my two teammates from my AAU team, Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal. So that made it a little bit more interesting. I've been to Hoosier Hysteria the past 2 years before, so I knew what to expect. This visit just really helped me build a relationship with the coaches. Really, it wasn't I didn't really need to see much more from the school itself.
And is the relationship the most important part of the entire recruiting process? I know that there's a lot of important parts: the academics, the school, the fit, the team, and all that. But when it comes down to it, is the relationship the most important part for both of you?
Yeah, it's pretty. I think it is, because if you don't have a good relationship, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, I feel like the relationship is definitely on behalf of the parents, or on, speaking for the parents, is definitely a big deal, because at the end of the day, I have to trust the staff and these coaches. With my son, when I let him go or whatever, wherever he's going to go, and that's a huge part actually on our end anyway. But the other stuff is really more for him, and him being comfortable, and him understanding what his role is going to be, and trying to fit in with those guys that are going to be there when he gets there. So, but the relationship aspect is definitely important, as far as the parents are concerned.
I'm sure you've met him before, but Calvert Chaney was at Hoosier Hysteria, of course, one of the all-time greats in IU history, if not the greatest, the leading scorer in Big Ten history. But, of course, an Evansville native, different high school, of course. That's okay, Evansville Harrison. But it had to be kind of cool of having him there, Christian.
I was kind of a shock. I didn't think he was going to come. To be honest with you, they said it was like a rumor at first, but I didn't know he was going to actually come. I got to talk to him a little bit, though. He just told me how good of a school Indiana was, and how he believes in Archie and stuff like that. So it was a good conversation.
How do you view someone like Calvert Chaney, since he is from Evansville, you're from Evansville, different high schools, of course, but it doesn't matter, but he's an icon from Evansville. How is he viewed by people that live there, kids growing up playing ball right now?
Honestly, I don't think too many kids like my age or a little bit older or younger really know too much about him, to be honest, unless their parents told them about him. So it's just, if you're like a real hooper, then you probably know about him. But if you're not in the hooping like that, you probably don't know.
Man, you're making me feel awfully old, Christian. Awfully old, man. Oh, man, he was in my era, of course, when I was in school at IU. Actually played with a friend of mine, Pat Graham, who lives in Evansville, actually, and went to my high school at Floyd Central, but as well as Todd Leary, who's on the show with us here each week. But, yeah, a lot of great stars come out of Evansville. Evansville produces a lot of talent, man. Don Mattingly, of course, from Evansville, but Christian Lander could be the next greatest. But what is it about Evansville that produces so much talent?
I honestly don't know. I guess we're just built like that, I guess.
Oh, man, built like that. But my thing is that I think there's a lot of untapped talent down here. Honestly, there's a lot of times that we get kind of overlooked down here in Southern Indiana, for whatever reason. But hopefully, Christian is something that a catalyst for opportunities for other kids to be able to be seen, by major programs, around the country. So hopefully this is just the start of something that will continue and be able to get some of these other guys out of here that have, as much talent, or maybe, close to it anyway. So,
I know what you mean. I grew up in Southern Indiana, close to Louisville, up the river from you, but we always felt that way too. That we were ignored by the rest of the state, but we had a lot of talent. But, man, you guys have had a lot of guys come out of there lately. Jack Nunge, who's down at Iowa, Alex Hemingway, who's off to Clemson. You got a lot of talent that's coming out there recently, so I don't know how people keep ignoring Evansville. I mean, they can't be, of course, not too much longer. You've got the number one recruit in the state there right now, and Christian Lander from Evansville Rights. So, how's your high school season looking, Christian? What are you looking forward to? I know I saw you all play this summer when you were up at IU. You got a pretty tall teammate there. Man, you look like you guys could possibly do some damage this year.
Yeah, I just feel like if we get stuff figured out like before the season or like super early in the season, I think we'll be all right. But if we wait, I feel like it's going to be a long season for us.
Well, let's hope that that's not the case. As the recruiting process continues, you get to take 5 visits as a junior and a senior, which is something you didn't get to used to do. But what's it like going to these other places? I know you get to go to Louisville or Michigan. All these are iconic venues, and of course Indiana included right in the middle of that. But what's it like getting to go to all these iconic venues as a kid that's still in high school?
It's just learning new things, stuff that other kids don't get the opportunity to learn at this age anyway. It's pretty much just learning new things that you wouldn't think that you would know this early.
Well, how are you viewing in Indiana, for example? How's that program look to you?
Well, I like it a lot. I got a pretty good relationship with the coaching staff, and it's just building and getting stronger. So they're good right now.
What do you do now? You've got 2 years of high school left, but of course you're shooting for the next level of college, and of course the next level after that as well. But right now, what do you do to prepare yourself specifically, knowing that you're going to this next level? You're going to play for one of these teams, and you know that you have to be bigger and stronger and do a lot of different things that you're not doing now. But how do you push yourself to get to that point?
Just watching older guys and guys that have done it before, looking what they do and just taking it and putting it in my game, and then just trying to build muscle and stuff like that, because that's the main thing I'm trying to work on right now, is just get heavier, really. So,
Keith, as a father, having to manage all this stuff and help them manage, 'cause this is a lot. You got people calling them from these schools. You got trips that you got to manage, that you got to plan. Everybody pulling you in different directions, wanting you to do interviews, whatever the case is. There's always something. How hard is it to manage life and manage this as well and help them navigate and keep things where they need to be?
It's a very busy time. Honestly, you just got to prioritize things and just, it's busy. You seem like you never have time to, do anything for, just yourself. But at the same time, this only comes, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So at the end of the day, you just want to take advantage of it and make sure that you take advantage of the opportunities that are, being, given to you. So, at any time, this stuff can be over with. And when it is over with, regardless of what time it is, whenever it is, 2 years, whenever it is, we can go ahead and look back at that and be like, that was a good time in his, in his career. So we're just going to take advantage of it and just make the most of it. It's like you said, like Christian said, it's a good time right now. It's not been a bad situation where anything is like, oh, we're getting tired of this or it's getting old or whatever. It's pretty awesome meeting some of these coaches and some of these guys that you've been watching on TV and some of these guys that you've seen play ball. It's pretty awesome time.
And I'm assuming the more you go through this process, you're able to learn more, learn what questions to ask. I know you have some to ask on your own, but I'm sure that more come as you learn through this process.
Absolutely. That was kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about, figuring out the right questions to ask. And over the course of, this process, we've been able to learn, certain things to ask, even, in addition to the questions that we already had going in.
Christian, what's important to you? What are you looking for in a program? Obviously, a winner, of course, but what are all the different characteristics that you want to have in a place that you end up going to?
The relationship with the coaches, knowing who I'm going to be playing with, the style of play that they play, the type of offense that they run, and then the academic part, make sure that's straight as well.
Any ideas what you want to study when you're in college? Because it's a long ways off yet, but is that something that you've even thought about?
It was mechanical engineering, no doubt, but I went on these visits and they were like, that's almost impossible to do. So, I might keep it and I might not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a tough degree to manage while playing basketball, I'm sure. But obviously, if you're smart enough to do that, then I'm sure you can manage it. But yeah, that's probably above my pay grade, man. I'm just a dumb old radio guy, so. But I'm sure whatever you end up, it's going to be awesome. And regardless, you're going to get to go to a great university wherever you end up going. Of course, I know a lot of people would like you to go here and like you go there. But how tough is that? Knowing that at the end of the day, you've got to make a decision. And if you've been talking to 5 different coaches, you got to tell 4 of them no. That can't be something that you're looking forward to.
No, not at all. It's going to be a super hard time when that time comes, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough decision that'll come around when that decision is ready to be made, but that's part of this growing process, I guess, and what makes I guess it helps you grow up, because that's a tough grown-up decision to have to make. And then have to deal with letting the other people know. So, but that's just part of growing up, I guess, right? And going off to college.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna have to dig deep and figure out how to tell all the other coaches no and say yes to them.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of fun when you wherever you end up going when you do tell them where you're going. But have you thought about what life would be like in college?
Yeah, I do. I just feel like I'm just going with the ride as of right now, just seeing what comes to me.
Absolutely. Well, man, we appreciate you guys joining us as always. You both have been on the show before. We're always grateful, and I look forward to having you on again. As the season rolls around, we'll be checking in and see how Evansville Rights is getting along, man.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
You bet, man. Thank you both. Christian and Keith Lander with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
And I'll forget about these feet of mine. I got to keep on walking. Hey, I got to walk on. Let me tell you, y'all, I'm so tired. But I just can't lose my stride.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday, October 14. A little Christian Lander for you there. Good interview. This man, we keep talking about the possibility of him reclassifying. That would be something. We'll certainly find out. But Tom Allen, got to speak with him as well after the big win over Rutgers on Saturday. Let's hear what Coach had to say.
Just proud of our team. A Big Ten win, much needed. Took care of business, and just thought it was very important for us to start fast, and we obviously did. First play of the game with a sack, caused fumble, scoop and score for the defense, which was awesome. And I thought our defense was excellent from start to finish. Just looking at the numbers, it's pretty staggering. They could give up 1 yard passing in a Big Ten game and 75 total yards. Is hard to do. So just thought the execution. We've worked so hard. We've worked so hard during the bye week and this last week to get some things in my mind fixed. And both on the coaches' part and the players, and just really pleased with the way they executed, and just never gave them a chance to get anything going. So that's really excited about that, because that's what we have to do. We had to keep getting better, keep working hard to fix things, and tackle well. I thought number one was an excellent running back. I know he is, and never let him get going. And that's big time. And then run the football for 260 yards. Gave the game ball to our offensive line. Hunter went down. I think he's going to be fine. But just even there, guys stepping up in his place and just keep running the football. It sets up everything else that we do. And thought that we had a good plan to try and take advantage of what they would give us. And just thought it was just a very consistent performance. I say that, and I still thought we had a little bit of a lull in the second quarter offensively in our execution. But at the same time, other than a couple penalties on special teams that we still need to make sure we keep focused on and cleaning up, pretty solid performance overall. Questions?
Kind of a two-part thing on Mike. Number one, was he playing through a little bit of pain today? And number two, just before you can watch film, how do you evaluate maybe the way that he kind of comes off of Michigan State and the day he puts together today?
Yeah, I thought that today was a good growth day for Michael Penix. Wasn't as clean as the last performance. I think he's young, and that's going to be part of the process. There's going to be he played solid. He wasn't as sharp as he was last time, but don't think there was any pain. Just was kind of a little bit late on some throws, and I thought he underthrew the one to Wap, which should have been a touchdown right before half. But just overall, I think it's one of those performances where it's growth. You're not going to always be at the top of your game, and and he is going to be learning from it. And I think you just sometimes it's how you handle as well the growth process of being patted on the back after a great performance, and then getting ready to go do it again, and then go do it again, and then go do it again. And so that to me is a big part of him, and I thought he was solid, but not as crisp and sharp as I know he can be. So we'll look at the film, and then he'll improve and be even better next week.
Coach, you mentioned the law. Is some of that it was
kind of so easy, so fast? Is that just where a young team not being able to handle prosperity as well as you'd like?
I think so. I mean, it was 21-0 before you could blink, and I think that's, you got to teach them how to keep playing. And you can say it all you want, but it definitely is. You're trying to, I bet that's why I'm so stinking hoarse, because I was yelling the whole time to stay focused and to finish and we got a lot of young guys, but I thought there was some good sideline energy even when there was a lull after we got ahead. But to keep the pedal down is hard to do. It's just the reality. And so, but at the same time, I thought that overall I was really pleased with, I didn't like how we finished the half. We obviously went forward on fourth down just because it was short yardage, and we liked the call we had. Didn't feel like we needed to take a timeout, and I asked if we wanted one. We didn't want one, and so I'm good, and we went with it, and they stopped us. So that's disappointing, but then you get the ball right out of the halftime and drive right down the field and score. That's huge. And then the 98-yard drive, that took up over 7 minutes, and 13, 14 plays. Those are demoralizing drives for the opposing team. So just really, and we've done that now. We did that against Michigan State. Now we've done it against Rutgers. And I just think that's the way we utilize the clock. That the time management of that it's important. It's how you play winning football. It's working both sides together. And to me, it's about doing those things so we can execute. And obviously, you would like to have a shorter field to work with, but our guys did a tremendous job in that. So I think there was some lulls. We just trying to fight through them and just keep teaching our young guys how to fight and finish.
What did you think of the career days from Whop Phillier and Stevie Scott?
Yeah, Whop's continued to, and I'm not really ever surprised with Whop. Last year was hard because he got injured, and I knew he's a special player, and he just brings so much energy, and he doesn't need a lot of space, and he can, he makes those contested catches, he creates a little separation, and then he puts his foot in the ground and gets vertical, and Mike has such good velocity on the football that he's able to get it to him, right as he breaks, So, and then Stevie, just to me, just continue to run the football. He had that one run, and they had some really good players on defense, and he just ran right over one of them. And it was just a grown man run that I thought was awesome, and a confident run, and just a strong run, and just an attitude run. And I just think that he's growing in his confidence in the guys in front of him and what we're doing schematically. And so I just think that they both know it's a team effort to get those individual performances, but those are two really good football players.
Coach, the youth on this defensive line seems to be going away quickly. That they started with a great defensive play, and then they end up with 12 tackles for loss. Yeah. Talk about those things.
Well, I tell you, to me that's how this defense is built, and I know we got a lot of new faces on the D-line, and it's taking some time, but these guys, they play hard. D-Mac's the one that caused the sack, DeMarcus Elliott, the first play of the game. It's just the penetration that we're getting, and we do move quite a bit and try and create that, but that's creating negative plays, the tackles for loss, the sacks, which creates takeaways eventually, more of those. That's how you play great defense. And then when you get into third down, you execute the call. We had a matter of fact, our guys came off the sideline. We had a certain play where we made a certain check that's been something that we'd had trouble with, even against Michigan State, and we nailed it and ended up getting a sack because of it. And my whole point to them was when I came off the field, like, guys, when you execute, it could have been a big play for the offense if you don't execute it. And it ends up being a sack because the guy that they're trying to get the ball to is covered with the check. It's a three-man concept that we're trying to do. It takes a little work, but to me, that's how you become a great defense, is you execute. And I said, when we execute, it's like we played a Michigan State game, I took like 4 clips and said, guys, when we execute, we could be an elite defense. When we don't, it's frustrating. And we had, we didn't finish in that game. So to me, that's the growth we saw today. I understand, that they obviously struggled, but at the same time, the execution is so critical. And the D-line sets the tone, and then you get into third down, you get pressure, and you execute the call on the back end, and you eliminate any chance of them converting. I mean, you're 0 for 11 on third downs, which is, it's also hard to get to that point. So a lot of really good things to build off of for the future.
Coach, you had the opportunity to rush the ball really for the best you've done all year this year. And the offensive line, really 2 games in a row after you lost Coy, they've really played well. Can you talk a little bit specifically and as a group how they've all come together since they've lost Coy and played as well as they have? I'm
telling you, when you lose a guy like Coy, it's going to do one of 2 things. A group can be devastated by it and never recover and never be the same, or you can band together and realize that each guy to a man has got to elevate his preparation and help elevate his performance. And I think that's what's happened. We lost one of our, if not our best offensive linemen, and the group has just kind of just come together and solidified their work ethic, their resolve to say that we're not going to be, we're going to be better because we're relying on each other. We're spending extra time. And Coy spent hours and hours trying to help Matt get ready, and all the different things it takes to get. So it's just, he's part of it too. That's why we've committed. He's going to travel to every one of our games. He's going to be here. And whether he's on crutches or on this little scooter, whatever we got to do to get him where he needs to be. But he's an important part of this whole team. And so I think he's been a part of that too. But they've rallied around him being gone, and that's awesome to see. And so that's a tribute to Coach Hiller and the group. And I think Simon's really stepped up, taking ownership of that. I know Hunter. Those are two seniors that have really stepped it up and challenged the other guys. They got to elevate their game, And so I'm just really proud of our guys. I mean, that's you want to just keep getting better as the season progresses, and we're seeing signs of that.
Yeah, Coach, it was around a year ago at this time that the community kind of rallied around Raekwon. Just how satisfying is it to see him maybe kind of having the senior year that he's having? And
I don't think anybody is more proud of him than I am. He won the Elio Award this morning that we give to a player that just best exemplifies what Elio stands for, and our team loves him because he's persevered. He persevered as a player. He exemplifies grit. He came here. He had to sit behind Tigray for all those first several years in red shirt, and then this last year, his senior year, he's playing his best football. And then he had the hurricane last year devastated his family. They're still recovering from it, and the perseverance through that has been impressive. And the guys ride around him for that. So there's just a lot of respect for him and the kind of man that he's become and the kind of person that he is. So I really appreciate how hard, and he just cares so much. He works so hard, and in the preparation of getting our team ready, and when you got a guy like that's leading that side of the ball, it makes a big difference, So I'm just really, really happy for him that he's playing so well because he deserves it.
Coach, you talked about the D-line. One guy that's been noticeably absent the last couple of weeks has been Juan Harris. Just wanted to see if we could get an update on his status.
Yeah, we talked about him earlier. We asked, in a unique situation, he's chosen to no longer play football. So informed us of that, and wasn't what I expected, but wish him nothing but the best. But really proud of the other guys that have stepped up, and it's a decision that he came to on his own, and so we wish him well.
You guys held them to 1 yard passing. It seemed like even on the screens, you guys were there very quickly. I mean, what do you attribute your guys' success stopping them in the pass?
Well, I think you try to work so hard. We play a combination of man and zone. So the disguise, I think, is critical. We did some things this week that we've added to our arsenal to be able to be a combination of pressure and then also some good, screen beaters, and that was by design because we felt like that was something that they did really well. And that's a way for a team, as you start to get pressure on them, that's kind of what they resort to, is to throwing screens and running draws and to try and, take advantage of your aggressiveness. So in order to maximize that, we've made some changes, and that's kind of part of this off our bye week adjustments, and they'll pay dividends for us in the future.
Coach, maybe a bigger picture question, but halfway point of the season, young team, starting a freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman. Do you like where you're at right now in terms of the progress you've made, in terms of where you see this team getting at the end of the year?
Yeah, we're after 6 games, we're 4-2, and got a big stretch coming up that's very critical. So to answer the question, I'd say I'm encouraged by the last 2 weeks. Wanted to win the last one. That would have been I would have been very pleased if we'd been 5-1 going into the 6 games. But we learned some things from that, and I think we got better because of it. But to be where we're at right now, because of so much youth on our team, there's no question I feel good about where we are and where we're headed. And we got to keep getting better. Now, if our guys embrace these next week like they did this past week, and we continue to grow as a team and keep getting better and learn how to prepare at a high level and execute at a high level, then, we only got to play them one at a time. So we just focus on Maryland at this point. But, yeah, I'm encouraged by the where we're at right now, and I feel that our young guys are getting better, and that to me is the key. And as long as you're seeing that improvement, and I think that's all you can ask for is that the kids, they just keep getting better every time they take the field, and that's what I want this team to be. We're still got things to clean up for sure. We're not where we want to be, but we're making progress.
You've talked about the defensive line, but more broadly, the blitz game today. I think one of the few things Rutgers had really done well statistically, they'd only given up 7 sacks coming in. You sacked Lanya, I think his name is 6 times. Just what was working, not just from a D-line perspective, but maybe from a front 6 perspective in your mind.
We worked really hard, and I've said this before, but I think, just we attack protections. That's our defensive philosophy. And so the more film we get, the more we get into the season, I think it helps us. And I think that we're able to take advantage of what teams do, and then you get in the game, they make adjustments, and you adjust off of that. So, but I thought our defensive staff did a great job of having a good plan to pressure the quarterback, because you're right, they have not given up a bunch of sacks. And so, but I felt like that there's things that we could do, and we had to execute them, but we did. And part of that goes back to, even like I said, with one of them, just by the back end doing their job and eliminating that first read when he's covered, and then bam, the pressure was right there. So that's to me where if you break down in the coverage and the quarterback's able to throw that first read, that wouldn't have been a sack. It would have been a big play for the offense had he caught it. So there's several examples of that. So I think it's a team effort for everybody to get to that point. But I think the scheme is a big part of it, because I believe in that. I love what we do, and the guys are just going to keep getting better. The more confidence we have as our guys grow, get older each week, and get better. So excited for our future. We've got to keep working hard.
Hey, there's Coach Allen from the big win over Rutgers on Saturday. Indiana now goes to 4-2 as they head into a road game at Maryland this week. Great show on today. We appreciate everybody joining us. The great Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, Mike Schumann as well. We appreciate them. Tomorrow on the program, a special guest, of course, the Chronic Man, Chronic Hoosier, will be with us. But also from Pro Football Focus, Cam Miller. Going to talk to him. Indiana's putting up some spectacular numbers. They're big on numbers. We'll talk about all that and plenty more. Come back with us tomorrow. We appreciate everybody on the show today. Again, Don Fischer, Mike Schumann, thanks to them. Thanks to Jake for keeping us on the track. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.